let's talk about recovering from new construction. And by recovering, I mean the damage that's done by the equipment that comes in and builds, new houses. We have in our neighborhood, this was a single house on this property. It's now now going to be four separate properties. The entire time this has been under construction, there was gravel in these spaces. Trucks were parked on top of it. It's been absolutely wild. I did new construction landscaping for a while in my time landscaping, and basically you get the grading contractor will get it within about 10% of the final, and then a landscaper will come in and finish this off, probably with a bobcat, and maybe take out a few rocks if they had to. There's rocks in here that are this big. I'll show you an example of that. And for the most part, they just got buried. There's, metal parts, metal pieces that have been buried. Maybe some of this, that got buried in the process of doing that final 10% grading, getting everything right around the curbs, and and taking these, taking this material down that's holding back some soil. Maybe some of it will get picked up. But I see a spray paint can buried over there. All kinds of things, right? We see concrete buried. They built the builder sand where they did the brickwork for the bottom. That sand is out here somewhere. It just got spread across the property. All kinds of problems. And this is virtually every single new construction home we see in here. This is how it's done. And it's had all of this compaction. So this property was similar to ours. It was under mowed grass for 80 years. And believe it or not, that mowed grass isn't that bad. But the grass had been rooting down, breaking that soil up. From that, it would have been easy to create a pretty nice landscape out of pretty quickly. This, on the other hand, is really, really difficult. They're going to come in, probably do a little bit of final grading, put some topsoil, they'll call it, because it went through some sort of machine and fluffed it up. And then they'll roll sod out on top of this, and they'll put whatever industrial plants up here along the foundation, which is fine. Just a basic landscaping, that's fine. The problem is not necessarily the plants they're using or the Bermuda grass that will definitely get rolled out here. It's more that how are those things supposed to thrive in a situation with this kind of compaction, this amount of rock? So we're gonna go back over to the house and just kind of talk you through, how you would recover from this. We did find $1 million bill over there, so maybe that person, if they find it that's moving in, they'll be able to recover much easier with that bonus money. They can replace all that soil and everything, right? And then we went over and took a look at another one just to kind of show you this is the process of new home building, especially in our neighborhood where they're fairly small lots. There's just not a lot of room to put the construction material. I get it. I mean, this isn't a criticism you can't put all of that sand, that builder sand and gravel and all the equipment and all the lumber and everything on the street, and still, you just can't do it. So it has to go somewhere, and it ends up causing an incredible amount of compaction. Now, my one complaint would be, it seems like you would pick those materials up before you just smear them into the ground, the concrete and the sand and all the other things, which are going to affect, from one area of the other in the garden, how, this side over here is a bunch of sand that got pushed into a corner, and that area over there is a bunch of pieces of concrete, and this is, it's different types of soil. So how are we going to recover from that? That's the point of this, kind of the point of this video. So I have a couple different strategies. When I did this as a landscaper, and we kind of needed to get there quick, right? I'm not going to go to a person's house and charge them whatever I'm charging them to do work and go, hey, this is going to get much better over the next few years. I had to get on it pretty quick. So the way I did this as a landscaper is we had a tractor and I had basically a tool on the back that had these rippers on it that we could go through and just drag around the garden. Sometimes it was so compact that I'd have to add weight to the back of it in order to actually sink them down in the ground. And so I don't like tilling in general. Like, we are so far along in this project here in Raleigh, if I tilled anything, I would be killing life that's in the soil. There's obviously no life in that soil that we were just looking at. So you're not killing anything. So you need to get in there and till it. The best way to till it is to take some sort of ripper and rip down 6, 8, 10 inches. Make sure you find out where your buried lines are in the garden before you do this. You know, call 811, make sure you know this, because if you're digging down that deep, you're potentially going to, especially fiber optic lines and cable lines and those kinds of things are super shallow. Telephone lines, if you still have one, I mean, that kind of thing are going to be shallow. So know where those things are. And then after we ripped it like that, we could go through with a tiller box on the back of the tractor and actually till it, and we could till some compost into it at that time. So we would rip it pretty deep and then compost into maybe the top 3 inches or so, and then we could create our beds from that, and that would alleviate some of the compaction. It's not going to alleviate all of the compaction. I mean, this equipment is taking soil that probably should have been fluffed up this high and, you know, sinking it 1.5 or 2 feet. It's dramatic how much air they've actually squeezed out of that soil. So it's not going to be perfect, but that is one scenario. Rip it deep, you know, rip it deep so roots can get down in there, and then till some compost in, and then you can put your sod, seed, whatever you want to for the turf areas, and then your beds, you know, bed spaces. The other way to do it, and the way we've done it here in this native garden space, is that we had time. Okay, so I wasn't in as big of a hurry. I didn't feel like I needed to rip everything up and do, you know, all new. This had been a driveway in the past. The city used it to park equipment on, so same kind of thing. It had been driven on. There used to be a nursery back here. This is off of Fowler Road. Fowler Nursery used to be here. They eventually moved to Garner. The nursery still exists, and it's in Johnston County now. It's moved twice over the years, but it was originally here. So gravel roads, things parked on, and then just mowed for years. And when we got over here and you try to stick a shovel down in the ground, you immediately start realizing how compact it actually is. We just put wood chips on top of this. And so over the course of a year and a half now, we didn't get enough rain on this, so it has been a little bit slower than we would have liked. But typically 6 months to a year, if you're in an area to get regular rainfall, you'll be amazed at how much we can basically put to work earthworms and beetle larvae and other microorganisms can take some of this organic material deeper down in the soil, depending on the ebbs and flows of rain, right? Sometimes you'll see earthworms up near the surface when it's really wet outside, they can't be that deep. And other times when it's drier, they have to go much deeper. And when they go much deeper, they carry that organic material down and they can help break this up. That's all we did here on this house, on this project, was put wood chips down. Some spaces we put a little bit of compost first, just to cheat the system a little bit, so you can put a layer of compost and then put a layer of wood chips and just wait. And you would be amazed. We have to dig. This was a space where every time you stuck a shovel in the ground, you came up with a big chunk of clay, like we saw over there. Fast forward 5 years, hard to find the clay. We have to dig down 6, 8 inches to find it. So that's how much we've alleviated the compaction and just changed the overall structure of this soil. That's the time one. So there's 2 different ways here. You can just go in there and just go after it with a machine really quickly and try to alleviate some of it. That won't perfect it, you know, that won't get it to the thing. But what we're trying to do is duplicate the forest floor. So think about the way the forest floor works back here. You're going to have on top of it, you're going to have leaves, you're going to have sticks, you're going to have chunky material, right? The things that have freshly fallen off the trees, right? Down below that, you know, as you dig down in it, you're going to find that that material gets smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? You're going to find beneficial organisms. This white material that you can see in here kind of connecting these pieces together. This is all the beneficial fungi that are breaking this material down, okay? And as we go further and further down, we see the decomposition of this material. Eventually we would get down to the soil, you know, the actual, whatever it is, clay or sand or loam or whatever it is. But you can see what we're trying to ultimately do is just recreate the forest floor. We can cheat and get there a little faster by breaking up that subsoil, then tilling a little bit of compost in, because that would be the transitions, right? You would have your soil, okay? These are called horizons. If you dig down in the soil and you look and you go, well, there's sandstone, then there's clay, then there's a kind of a loam area, or a mixed area of the native soil with a little bit of organic material. And then you see this humus layer that's almost all organic material that's been broken down. We might call that compost. And then on top of that, chunkier and chunkier material till the top layers. That's what we're trying to recreate. And we can do that for our bed areas. For our turf areas, obviously we can't have this big chunky material, but certainly the layers from the humus layer down through that kind of mixed profile layer and down to that soil that's down below it is what we would need for our turf area. We just need to recreate those things. So if you have time, do it with the wood chip method. If you don't have time, you do need to take a machine out there with some sort of ability to drag through it and uplift some of that existing compaction. Otherwise, there's just no way. I mean, grass, like they're going to certainly put Bermuda grass out there as the turf, and Bermuda grass is capable of really rooting deep down in the soil, probably improving soil over time. I think it's a very difficult plant to garden with because it will creep into your beds in every direction. It's hard to garden with, but it has been engineered by humans to be really good at growing in difficult situations, and it's able to root really deeply. If we can give it a bit of an advantage, you know, before we put it down, then it has a much better chance of requiring less inputs overall. Because if those roots can get down deeper into that clay is nutrient rich, or our plants, or our plant roots here. You know, if this Fothergilla can get itself down into that clay that's nutrient rich, that means less fertilizer inputs, less water inputs, less inputs in general that you're going to need as well. If you just leave that compact, roll out sod on top of it with a little bit of some sort of topsoil, you know, that somebody brings you, and then you just plant shrubs into that, how are they going to root into the surrounding soil? They're going to need you for a long time, you know. But if we have that broken up a bit, you know, we're starting to improve that soil, then they can get out into that surrounding soil, and you can go to the beach and on vacation and other things and not have to worry about them so much. I don't know if you'll be able to pick up on this, but you can see the sponginess of this. This is what we're talking about. I should have done this over at the other property. Obviously, I would not have been able to push down on it at all. But that sponginess right there, that's really what we're ultimately looking for in our gardens. And if you walk through the forest, that's how it should feel, right? It shouldn't feel like concrete under your feet when you walk through your garden beds. I would say that my number one approach would be the all of the above approach. So take the ripper, rip down deep, then till a little bit of compost into that top 3 inches or so. I don't want to put compost down to the bottom of where that ripper's capable of going. So if you have like a 10 or 12 inch ripper, I don't want compost 10 or 12 inches down into that subsoil. It could create some anaerobic conditions. So drag the ripper through, put some compost on top of it, till that into the top 2 or 3 inches, and then even put wood chips on top of it. So that's the all of the above approach. And I think you could quickly, that's probably the fastest way to go from what we saw over there to the finish line of where you can start planting confidently and start enjoying, the money that you're going to invest in new plants, sodding, whatever it is you're, planning on doing with the property, gardening, you can kind of trust your investments. If you go buy $150, $250 conifer that you fall in love with, come home and put it in that's a high risk, right, of that plant not thriving at all. So I think you could also buy some confidence by doing the entire set of procedures I'm talking about. There you go. There's some ideas and thoughts. We just see this everywhere. It is the way in which people inherit properties. If you have a new property, that you really do need to work on that soil compaction. And in the process of that, working on that soil compaction, you're probably going to pick up some of the bricks that were buried out there, some of the larger rocks, and prevent some of those long-term problems. Because another thing, one last thing, I did a lot of landscape jobs over the years where it was, down by the mailbox by the road, they can never grow grass, or they couldn't grow anything, and they've hired me to say, what is going on here? Do we need to replace the soil? And we start digging, and that's where we find the concrete that was left, from the concrete truck. When they poured the foundation, they just poured the last little bit out there by the road, and it's buried in there. So this work can also unveil some of those things that may be long-term problems as well. So good luck if you're moving into, you know, a new place, getting started on it. For me personally, I don't think you need to get to the finish line really quickly. I think you'll be much happier if you spend a little time and think through how to alleviate some of that compaction. Your plants will be happier. You'll have less maintenance. You'll need less inputs in the future by slowing down, taking a minute, and working on that problem that you've inherited. Thanks for watching.